Great day, folks. This is our fourth Sabbath of our seventh month here. And Tanya and I went to the Boston Mountains in northwest Arkansas and celebrated our uh, Feast of Booths or Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot um, and such. And we had such a wonderful time. We spent some time with a friend that we've known um, through video for a long time and through phone for a long time, but we finally got to spend some valuable time in friendship with her. And so, because of that, and us spending time with other friends, I wanted to get out this video earlier than this, but anyway, I believe I can offer up something here for some of you there, and this is the way I kind of see things on tabernacles. And as you go through the previous videos that I did about Passover and unleavened bread and first fruits and um, the Shavuot and then Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and then you got tabernacles. To me, those events or those feasts plus your Sabbaths are just a shadow picture of your coming into the Word of Yahuwah, coming into the knowledge, and then just growing, having a seed planted in you, and you planting seeds in others, and such, and just until you get to that final portion where you get to that last great day and such. So it's just a wonderful shadow picture, and this is what the feast have become to me over the years as I've continued to study them out. So um, I expect you will enjoy this. And so we're just going to look at the scriptures in Leviticus 23 and look at a little bit of Strong's Concordance and Brown Driver Briggs and some etymology online stuff, just my typical way I research and study. And I think there's some things, every time I start these studies, I'm always finding out something new. So I begin them with an idea in my head, but I don't know what the finished product's always going to be until I get through the study and such. So anyway, y'all stick with me here. If you want to double speed it, it goes by much quicker on my videos. Also, if you want to stop the video, take a look at. I'm not going to cover every word that I've copied and pasted in on these slides here. So if you want to slow it down and take a look at it or go search it out for yourself, just get the information, go search it out for yourself. So anyway, I hope this blesses you. Leviticus 23, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this seventh month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahuwah. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. On the 8th day there shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feast of Yahuwah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah, a burnt offering, and a meat offering, a sacrifice, and a drink offering, and drink offerings, everything upon his day. Beside the Sabbaths of Yahuwah, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings, which ye give unto Yahuwah. Also in the 15th day of the seventh month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim 7 days. And ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So we are to dwell in booths 7 days, and that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So anybody born into the word of Yahuwah becomes a spiritual Israelite. So anybody that's born into the word of Yahuwah, they become an Israelite at that time. So you shall dwell in booths after that. That your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Again, I'd like to note, Egypt means double straits, or means a confined, or a confinement, or being restricted and such. So it's a character trait when you see the land of Egypt. Leviticus 23:44, and Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yahuwah. So if you look at Leviticus from the very first verse to the last one here, verse 44, you're going to see all the feast of Yahuwah, and including the Sabbath. The second and third verse is talking about the appointed times of Yahuwah, and then it talks about your Sabbaths in there too. So it's not only the yearly festivals, but it also talks about the weekly Sabbaths. What is a booth? So when I looked at the Brown Driver Briggs definition, I usually look at Strong's first, and I did here, but I put this slide first because I thought it was interesting that booth means rude or temporary shelter. So I said rude shelter. So again, etymology, words are not always what we think they are when we initially look at it. So let's look at rude here. Rude, late 13th century, coarse, rough, without finish. So just keep that in mind. Our whole life's journeying through the scriptures, we're coarse, we're rough, we're without finish. We don't totally ever get finished in this old earthly body that we're in. So it's a constant daily, as Paul wrote. It's a race. It's a course, or it's a circuit that we're running on. So he never felt comfortable that he had attained everything that he needed. So he considered himself completely still without finish and such. If you continue on, it speaks of round about in the 13th century, and directly from Latin rudis, rough, crude, unlearned. So again, as we first come into the word of Yahuwah, that would be we're rough. I know when I first, learned that Jesus was not the literal name of the Messiah, that the letter J didn't even exist 500 years ago. It took me a while to get that, Jesus out of my mouth, or God, which is another title, and it is a name of a tribe of Israel, and it's also a name of a prophet of David. But it's a substitute for the true name of the Father, in which the letters of his names gives the true character, the authority, and the honor that we should be honoring him with. And it's just through the letters alone. If you know what those letters are and what they mean. But we all start off rough, and we're crude, and we're unlearned. And as we travel through these festivals, and each and every year as we go through, if we stay in his word and we dig deep into his word, we're going to constantly improve, and he's going to give us more truth, and it's going to add to our value. Just like this study today, I had no idea it was going to say a rude shelter in the Brown Driver Briggs. So. And it was interesting that it brought me to etymology, and here's what we got. Temporary. Temporary means lasting only for a time. So if you think of what we'll walk around in meat suits, we're just here for a few years compared to history, from the beginning of time to whenever the end of time is, we're just here for a fraction of that time. So, I think the average age is, here in America is in the 70s somewhere. And really, if you think about it, I'm 61. So to me, that's a short amount of time because I still remember back when I was a child and some of the vivid memories I have of certain events in my life, even back to probably 5 or 6 years old. So we're only in these meat suits for a short period of time. So it's what we do while we're in these meat suits is what our ultimate goal is, where we're going to get the reward. But again, just wanted to say temporary shelters just means it's just lasting for a short period of time. Also, you can see in the Latin temporarius of seasonal character lasting a short time again. Now we want to look at the Greek for tabernacle. And we're going to cover this in a scripture later. It's going to be in Stephen's speech and such, so we'll get there later. But as you can see here, it's skene, skene, it looks like, a tent or cloth hut. So again, this tent has a literal or figurative meaning. It can be applied literally or it can be applied figuratively. And then, of course, you see habitation or tabernacle. Then if we look at the Hebrew Strongs, we got 5521, Sukkah. Um, I wouldn't say it that way myself, just keeping it simple type of way. But anyway, it says here Sukkah, so we'll go with that, and that's probably where they got Sukkot out of that. Booth, because the ta at the end of some Hebrew words gives it plurality. So Sukkah is booth, and then if you make it plural in Hebrew, it would be Sukkot there. So that's my understanding to this point. I'm sure there's more to learn there, but it means a hut or lair. Okay, we're going to take a look at this lair. We're going to take a look at booth, and we're going to look at tabernacle. And tent's going to be covered when we look at it, but you can also see it says cottage, covert, or pavilion. When we look at lair etymologically, we got Old English leger or ledger, act or place of lying down, bed, couch, illness, the grave. So booth is a lair. So that could be an act or place of lying down. So if you think in Psalms 23, he maketh me lie down in green pastures. So that would be your lair. What are the green pastures? It's the word of Yahuwah. It's symbolically the word of Yahuwah. He's not literally laying you down in the green pastures, although some of y'all are probably laid down in green pastures like myself. And but anyway, it's an act or place of lying down. Also, a bed. What I found interesting about this, and this goes back to the giants, Og. If you go look up the scripture for Og, I forget which one it is. It might be Numbers 3:11, if I'm not mistaken. But that same word is used for bed there. Look it up. It's not necessarily a literal bed. It's a place that Og had made for him to lie down in. So it could also be Og's illness. If you look up Og, Og wasn't a righteous person. Also the grave. So, we can choose who we lie down. Do we lie down in the green pastures of Yahuwah, or do we lay down in the graves of the false gospel out here? So, who are you gonna make your bed with? Is your couch big? Is your couch long in the word of Yahuwah, or is your couch long in the Christianity of this world? Tabernacle, mid 13th century, portable sanctuary carried by the Israelites in the wilderness. I've come to believe that might not be an actual portable sanctuary there, but that's just me. That's what how Yahuwah is speaking to me. If you say it a different way, that's fine with me. But if we go on, it says from French tabernacle, the Jewish tabernacle. Again, says that, and why they connect all the Israelites as the Jews, but that's at one time there was a Jewish tabernacle just by itself, and then most of Israel had been taken into captivity by the Assyrians. But anyway, I got tent highlighted there, and then if you come down, it says also in biblical language the body as the temporary abode of the soul. And that's late 14th century, and the early one was 12th century. So again, you say canopy, tomb, or monument. So interesting what tabernacle can be etymologically. And keep in mind, most of the translation into the English happened, back during this period of time. I think John Wycliffe, he lived in the 13th century, I believe. So that would be or 14th century, that'd be about the 1300s. So about that time, he was the first one that started taking the Hebrew and the Greek and rewriting it over into the Old English, where the people of Europe could understand what they didn't understand Greek or Hebrew. They only knew Old English. So anyway, I just find that interesting. Here, what tabernacle can be. Booth, we look at around about 1200s. It's a temporary structure of boards. Okay, so again, going back to boards, with I'm still in my study on the trees, and trees is where boards come from. And same way with sticks. So, the symbolism of the, gathering sticks on the Sabbath is gathering of people for your own way of worship, your own doctrines, and not the doctrines of Yahuwah. So, but the booth that we want to stay in, we want to stay in this temporary meat suit structure, but with the word of Yahuwah flowing inside of our spirit or our soul. That's where we want our booth to be. Continue on, it says, especially a stall for the sale of goods or food or entertainment at a fair, etc. Temporary dwelling or to dwell. So Tanya and I, we've done the temporary dwelling as far as taking, we spent some time with some friends years ago, and we walked through the woods and we gathered branches, and we came back and kind of built covered the booth that was already there with some branches and such. And those branches are symbolic of people. All the trees are symbolic of character traits of people. So, if you take a bunch of people and you build booths with them, and they're all searching for the word of Yahuwah, that's what basically we want to dwell in. We want to dwell with other people, other branches that are searching for the true word of Yahuwah. So temporary dwelling, also to dwell. So we're going to look at that word too. So as you can see here, your dwelling place, just in this picture, you can see it's a bunch of bent over nails and such. That looks like some of my hammering jobs, or building building some structures that we just did up in the Boston mountains. We were doing some construction work for the friend that we went to see and such. So that looks like some of our and we actually built a dwelling place for the firewood and for some other implements there. So we didn't intend to do it because it was a festival of booths, but we did it just because there was a need to get some firewood covered, because this winter's going to be a tough one coming, because it's going to be a lengthy winter. What does dwell mean? So we get the Strong's number H3427, Yashub. See here, properly to sit down, specifically as a judge. Here in ambush, it's interesting, in ambush or in quiet. So to sit down, you remember when I talked about the Day of Atonement, I covered the fasting, and we looked at it etymologically. It just means to hold firm in something. So when you get in some type of belief, and you especially the ones that have proven that belief, You know, belief can be your enemy to knowing something if you don't go out and search it out for yourself. So be a Berean, just like the Bereans did. You know, they searched the matter out to see if the scriptures were true. So we got to hold fast. Once we sit down into His Word, we got to hold fast into that. So this is what this to dwell means, but it can also mean that you can dwell a different way. So you look at, you know, some of my people that are still in Christianity, and I've spoken to them about coming out of that confusion, that Babylonian way, which is Babylon, and it ultimately goes back to Rome and how the Catholicism has turn the other religions, Christian religions out there into harlot daughters and stuff. So they hold fast, and they don't, you know, regrettably, it's they're neither hard or cold for the word of Yahuwah. They're just lukewarm, so they don't do the research. You know, it's just like you know, somebody comes to you and speaks to you about something that you've never heard before, and you've been taught a different way. Do you just say, "Oh well, it's you know, I trust what science has said," or I trust what my pastor has told me, or something, or do you go search it out for yourself? So be careful in who you sit down and who you dwell with. You can also see here it means to remain. So again, hold fast. This is what fasting's all about, to remain into it. And then look here, causably to settle, to marry. So what we say when we're, hey, I'm going to settle down and get married. So you were a wild spirit, and then you find the love of your life, and then you're going to settle down and marry. So what happens when we first meet the true word of Yahuwah? What do? You settle down. You quit being that wild self, going out there being a part of the world, enjoying that Christmas and that Easter and all them other, even that Christian festival of Halloween. You know, you quit partaking into it. You settle down and you marry into the word of Yahuwah, symbolically, of course. But anyway, so some interesting stuff. And if you want to stop this video right now and just pull these up and look at some of these other words, very interesting. Look at the King James occurrence. Over 1,081 times this word is used, to dwell. So just keep that in mind as you're studying through Scripture and you come across this word. It's interesting find. Dwell. It's a verb, Old English, dwelling, to lead. Look at there. This surprised me. To lead into error, deceive, or mislead. So it depends on who you're dwelling with. Okay, so if you're dwelling in a booth with someone else, you could be led into error, deceived, or misled. Okay. The apparent sense evolution in Middle English was through to procrastinate, delay, be tardy in coming. So, you know, I used to be a mechanic, and I used to set they have dwell on a distributor that distributes the fire to the cylinders of your engine. So you would set the dwell, and you know, you would do it either before top dead center so many degrees, or you would do it top dead center. And there's a few engines out there you actually set the dwell after top dead center. So procrastinate, delay, be tardy. So I kind of already had a sense of what dwell was, but I associated, when I saw the procrastinate, delay, be tardy in coming, I thought of the distributors that when I was a mechanic, I used to set the timing on the engines and stuff. So I would set the dwell at that time. That's not really a verb. It's more of a noun at that point in time. But it just kind of took me back to that when I saw this particular meaning in the etymology. That was late 12th century. So late 12th centuries would be late 1100, you know, the AD. So this goes way back, guys. And then you see here, linger, remain, stay, sojourn. You remember the word? It says, you know, if you sojourn in the wilderness, you know, and that wilderness is another wonderful study there. You know, the wilderness basically means to come out of society, come out of this world, and sojourn in the wilderness. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to dwell in the wilderness. Stay. That's again fast, hold firm. To make a home, abide as a permanent resident. So yeah, when we come in, I try to be a citizen in the word of Yahuwah, and it's trial by fire every day, because the fire is His word, and you could go in with a preconceived notion, but let Him lead you. Get rid of the ego, and let Him lead you and guide you in the way, because this spiritual journey that Tanya and I have been on the last 3 or 4 years is a wonderful journey, and I would wish everybody to be able to have the feelings that we get when we it tells us to worship in the spirit, not in the flesh, and so how true that is once you really get the gist of the spirit of what Yahuwah was trying to speak to us and guide. And keep in mind, it's up to Him to hide the matter, and it's up to kings to search the matter out. And he speaks in parables, and he talks in old sayings of old, or riddles. So we got to take these things, and you can't you can't just go through in the black and white and say, hey, that's it. You cannot do it. You've got to look deeper into what these words meant originally when they were translated from the Hebrew or Greek or Latin over into the English, and we gotta understand what they mean. My take on the Feast of Booths. Okay, so y'all kind of got an idea of how I feel about Passover and my take on Passover and all the other festivals. But this is the last festival, so ultimately it's a 7 days you bring an offering to Yahuwah, and then that last great day. So to me, that's the marriage, that last great day. So all this time, and in fact, why is it from the first month to the 7th month? Could that be symbolic? The months could be symbolic of the days. I don't know. I don't have any particular witnesses for that, but it's just interesting. From the first month, you start Passover, to the very end, the 7th month, you spend, if them 7 months are considered 7 days, to me, that could be another shadow picture, a little deeper picture of what Yahuwah is trying to convey to us. So let's look at some scriptures here real quick. Leviticus 23:42. Again, it says, ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So again, if you're born into the Spirit, you're born into Israel. You're grafted in, whether you have a true physical blood as an Israelite, or if you're born again, you become an Israelite. Then 2 Peter says, we had 7 days before, and now 2 Peter 3:8 again, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahuwah as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. So if we are to dwell in booths for 7 days, could not Yahuwah be also telling us that mankind is going to, including all people from the beginning, will dwell on this temporary earth, or I don't know if it's a temporary earth, but I know there's a renewed earth, so it's temporary as we know it today. But anyway, could He not be giving us even further a prophetic signal that those 7 days of tabernacles are also a 6,000 years man will work? He gives 6 days for man to do all his work, and then the 7th of rest. So that 7th of rest, would that not be the 1,000 years that you actually rule with the word of Yahuwah, the Messiah, during that 1,000 years when Satan is cast away and such? So there's just a 7th day of rest where no one's outside of Yahuwah's word at that time. So I could see that. So that's my take on it. That's what I'm seeing. We go further. We look at Revelation 26, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection, and on such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Elohim and of Mashiach, which is Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So there's your 7,000th year. So mankind has 6,000 years, and then you got inside the 7,000th year to the beginning of the 8,000 year, you got 1,000 years. And if you go into the next chapter after that 1,000 years, and now you get to, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And again, I don't believe that sea is talking about a physical watery sea, but I think it's talking about a sea of people that are in chaos. And if you look up the letter Mem that's in Shamayim or Mayim, which is for water, you'll see that it can also be turbulent type sea. So this is the beast. The first beast came out of the sea. Well, it's talking about a sea of people that were turbulent at that time, and that was the first beast, the 1,260 years of the papacy from 538 AD to 1798. So I don't believe that sea is an actual sea. I still believe there's going to be beautiful, beautiful water and seas and scenery that we can still see to this day. Second verse, we have, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So here you go. This is the beginning of the 8,000th year. This would be the 8th day, wouldn't it? In the last great day of the festival, which I believe all these festivals, again, are just a shadow picture of how we're supposed to study and be prepared for that ultimate marriage to the word of Yahuwah. Anyway, in Jerusalem, New Jerusalem would be new teachings of shalom, new teachings of peace. So that's what Jerusalem or Jerusalem means at that time. So it's going to be new teachings of shalom. In Revelation, or you could say renewed, it could be renewed teaching. So they've kind of taken Jerusalem over, the physical Jerusalem, and there's really nothing righteous going on over there. Revelation 21:3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. So that's the booth I want to tabernacle in. That's the one I want to dwell in. Okay, that's the one I want to stay in. So if I stay in that booth when he arrives, then he's gonna step in. There's gonna be a marriage, and he's gonna dwell with us forever. Now, interesting, Isaiah 40:22. Now, this is a flat earth verse if I've ever seen one, but something that caught my eye today. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. Well, again, I'm not going to get into flat earth that much, but if you look up circle, it's not a sphere. I've got a circular table for my kitchen or my dining table, so it's a circle. So, but it's totally flat on the top. So, anyway, I'm not going to go much further, but keep on reading here. And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers. Go look up the character trait of grasshoppers, okay? Go look that up, and that'll teach you more. It's not really talking about the physical size of what he's saying. Grasshoppers, the angular resolution of your eyes at where Yahuwah would be. It probably wouldn't. It look more like ants than grasshoppers. Or ant eggs. But anyway, grasshoppers, go look up locusts and grasshoppers and their character traits. It's very interesting, guys. It's going to give you a little bit more knowledge when you're studying scripture and it talks about locust or John the Baptist eating locust. Go check it out. But here we go. That stretches out the heavens as a curtain. Heavens is in plural, guys. He stretches out the heavens. Okay, so how most people think that it's one single dome, which on this earth I do believe there's a physical Shamayim, an arch that you can't penetrate through and travel outside into this supposed outer space. But it says here, this is in plural, the heavens, as a curtain, and spreadeth them, again plural, out as a tent to dwell in. Okay, so this is multiple. This is not just one dome of the earth. This is given some more symbolic meaning here. So let's look at it. The interlinear is going to be most times. Now, interlinear can be wrong too, so be careful. But I just wanted to check it up against the King James version that I study with now, and it's only because the Strong's is right there where I can do it. It's easier to copy and paste the King James too. Not as many things. All I have to do is I just got to put the proper ancient Hebrew pictograph letters in there. That's what I prefer to do instead of, those other names out there that people call them. So here it is. Anything in brackets was added later. So I'm going to skip that. I won't read anything in brackets, but it says, he who sits above the circle of the earth and its inhabitants like grasshoppers, who stretches out like a curtain the heavens, plural, and spreads them out, plural, like a tent to dwell in. Them, so third person plural. So when we think of these heavens, this has carried me somewhere else here today, and I hope I'm able to convey what it means to me here on this study. So if we look at Acts 7:43, it says, yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your mighty one Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Okay, so that's pretty bad. So when you get taken away beyond confusion, that's pretty serious there. So when you look up Moloch, this is going to cross reference to a Hebrew Strong's or Hebrew word, which is for a king or ruler. Okay, that's what Moloch is. It's a king or ruler. King Charles just got, given the kingship of England or whatever they call it. And how many people actually, symbolically worship him and such, and some of these other rulers and such, and we'll get there in a little bit, but and the star prince. So if you look up star, you're going to see that can also figuratively mean a prince. And I believe a lot, you can be a star. You can be a star of Yahuwah, just like 1 Corinthians, I think it's 15:40 and 41, where Paul's talking to wrote a letter to the Corinthian, and he's talking about the esteem of one star above another. So stars can be people. So a star can be a prince. The Messiah was the Prince of Peace. So who else on earth today tries to set themselves up as a Prince of Peace? So we continue on of your mighty one Remphan. So if we look up Remphan, it basically says a deity. Well, when you look up deity, what is deity? It means a divine nature. So how many people in the Christian world are considered with divine nature? Look at the Pope. The Pope is considered divine by many, many millions of people. It might even be billions. But Remphan is a heathen, it's someone that's a heathen with divine, considered with divine nature. Now we take a cross reference to that. We go to Amos. And by the way, that last slide, that was Stephen. That was the last chance for the Jews. That was the end of the 70 weeks. 3.5 years earlier, they had killed the Messiah in the midst of that 70th week. And then his disciples had taken over. And you remember Peter came to the Messiah and said, how many times should I forgive my brother, which times can also mean years. And Yahushua said, or Peter said, how many times should I forgive my brother? And he said 7 times. And Yahushua said 70 times. No, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. So that's 490 times, or 490 years. So that's what the Jews that were in captivity in Babylon at the time, when they got released by the Persian king at the time, and that started the count to when the Messiah would show up. And there's a beautiful timeline of that. I did a timeline study of it, and it's just awesome how it all works out prophetically. But anyway, these princes can also, or these stars can be people. And I forgot where I was going with. This Chiun is the same as that Remphan earlier. It's just basically the Hebrew, or it would be Kiun or something like that. But heathen divine nature. But your images, if you look up images there and you study into it through the Strong's and Brown Driver Briggs and some of the other breakdowns of lexicon, you go to Bible Hub. Bible Hub gives you several there to look at. But it's a representative figure. So what the papacy calls themselves the vicar of Christ. So they represent themselves as the substitute for Messiah, the Mashiach, on earth. So that's the image that they portray of themselves. So again, I'm going to read Amos 5:26, and maybe this will make more sense after I read it again. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, your king, your ruler, and Kiun, heathen divine nature, your images, a representative figure, the star prince of your mighty one, which you made to yourselves. So who are some of these people? Well, here's some kings and rulers right here. This guy on the top left, that's the guy from India. He's the most popular world leader today out of all the rankings. He's like 76%. And that's the same guy that was sitting there looking at the space invaders landing on the moon. That's terrible CGI footage of their lunar landing. But some of these other leaders here, I think this is the Mexican president here. I believe, I could be wrong. Not sure who this guy is. I know that's for sure Trudeau. He doesn't rank very high. This is the France president, Miron or something. And then, of course, you got Biden. So how many people in this country of the United States, how many have fought over the last 6 years on who should be their king or their ruler? You remember what Yahuwah did when they started requesting a king? They said, give us a king. We gave them Saul, which was a terrible king for them, a terrible leader for them. So this is nothing new under the sun. This is the same. Now, as far as the voting, I vote for the word of Yahuwah daily, but for the people that go out here and vote politically for these men, these guys that are you choose to rule over your life, really you choose, but they're truly selected. So even go back to the president before this one here, Biden, Trump was selected by higher ups. He was not voted in, he was selected. And again, he is a Moloch. There's so many people, I know so many people that salivate over Trump, and they want him to become president again and such. And I don't hold any more esteem for man anymore, and I don't want anybody to follow me as far as a man. I want you to take everything I speak and go check it out for yourself. Don't trust any man, not one person at all. Never trust them with your own salvation. Work out your own deliverance. I even tell Tanya, don't trust what I tell you. Go search out. I said, this is the way I see it. you know, and she comes to me and she said, this is what I'm seeing here. So we bounce things off of each other. But anyway, as far, this is your kings and rulers. This is the top global leaders of 2023. Now, this is not the exact rankings. You can go to a website, just Google list of top global leaders 2023, and it'll list a bunch of them and show all their rankings. So Biden is way down. Trudeau's lower than Biden, so that's hard to believe. But anyway, it's probably because we don't see Trudeau on a daily basis. And I don't see him at all. I mean, seriously, I watch no TV. I couldn't even tell you what's going on in Israel and Palestine right now. I really couldn't. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get myself worked up over something I have no control over. What I have control over is my relationship with Yahuwah. And if I continue to search him out and search the word out, I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to be able to hold firm and hold fast to when those times of trial do come. So I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what's going on out there. If anything, it's probably all a show and a lot of propaganda. And yeah, there's people losing their lives, but it's not any of these guys. It's all their minions and such down below. Here's your princes. This is Kion, your heathen divine nature, religious leaders of Christianity. You got the Pope. You got the Jesuit Pope there on the top left. Then you got this, I forget his guy's character, but I know some personal people that I actually did some work for that they think this guy he is so righteous and makes no mistakes. And then we got I think this is one of your, I think this is America's main Catholic priest here in the top middle. I really don't know who this lady is here. I really don't know who this guy is. I know Martin Luther King. I know Billy Graham. You know, oh man. You know, if people, he had a history back in some secret societies and such. And so anyway, I remember this guy too. I can't remember his name. But these are your Kion. These are people that people have placed up as gods for themselves. They're mighty ones. They're mighty in the word. Oh man, they know the scriptures front, backwards, upside downs, in through the middle, and everything else. And these people are propped up. And, you know, I have family that has been, you know, have fallen for these things. You know, I love my mother dearly, but one of the things she fell for, she put too much trust in her pastor. Whoever her pastor was, she figured if he was the pastor and was able to get through school, the seminary schools, and become a pastor, get licensed, get a piece of paper saying, hey, you can preach the word and such. You know, regrettably, these are heathen divine natures. So anyway, this is my take on who's your dwelling place going to be with. Is it going to be in the world's religions, or is it going to be in the true word of Yahuwah, which the only way you're going to get that is the first letter of Genesis all the way to the last letter of Revelation. Anything outside of that, I'm suspect of. But anything within that, I have trust and loyalty in what his son, his words told us, that not one yod or one tittle would be missing for us. So it's up to us to go out and search these things out. So I've chosen my dwelling place. I hope your dwelling place is where I choose to dwell. And if you've enjoyed the study, give it a thumbs up. If you want to share it with anybody, please do. Again, if there's any comments you need to make, please do. I look forward to it. I always look forward to comments and such. And anyway, y'all have a great day. I'm going to, at the last little bit of our Sabbath here, on the 29th day of our 7th month. So I'm going to always give praise to you at the end of these videos. I'm going to say hallelujah, hallelujah indeed. Y'all have a great one. See you next time.